Hey guys, so we are back and we are now going to work on a different piece, which is going to be, let me go ahead and clean this up here so it's out of my way. Alright, which is going to be hiding this form here. Now I know what you think, that's probably just as easy as like just click a button and say, click, unclick, hide, that's simple. It's not as easy. We have to set up a few properties and we are going to make a service for it. Now, why are we making a service? Why are we making it so complicated? And the reason why is because we want to make sure that we can read a property throughout the entire application, and the service is the best way to do it because you can service that functionality out into any component, and then any component can absorb it and use it. Okay, if not, then it just you're going to have to set up the same logic all the time. So let's go ahead and close some of this stuff here that we have. We're going to do a bunch of stuff actually in a bunch of places. So let's just close it all up and then we'll open what we need as we need it. So the first thing we're going to need is we're going to need a service. So let's go ahead and also close all this stuff here so it's nice and clean. Start it from scratch. Alright, so on this service right here, so if we move up, I don't know how far up we, oh, right there. Okay, so the NGGS skip test true services task. Use that same format. And if you were wondering how did I get there so fast, is arrow up on the keyboard. All right, and then what are we gonna call this? What did I call mine? So I want to make sure that we kind of have the same thing. Add form. I don't know if add form is the best one, the best name for it. You could call it hide and show. I don't know. You can call it anything you want. Utility. I don't know. I'm calling it add form because it's gonna add the form. It's gonna be for hiding and showing the form. But technically speaking, I don't know. It could be used for other things. But let's just call it add form. Just so we can move on. So add form and hit enter. It'll do its thing. Done. Now we can go ahead and move this out of the way so we can open this right here. Now, anytime you have a service started, it's a good idea to stop your your application and rerun it again because you're gonna have some stuff there that you're going to need. So, all right. So now let's go ahead and open up this service one here, and we have like the normal stuff. Now we're gonna need a couple of things here, and first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna bring in a new observable called subject. So the subject observable basically sends out the information that is in the service and makes it available at from other locations, from other components. So let's just go ahead. That was probably a really bad explanation or definition of it, but sorry. Let's go ahead and bring in observable from RSJS and then bring in subject. Alright, so now that we have that, we're going to, inside our, also put some space here, and inside our class, we're gonna set up a couple of properties here. So the first one we're gonna do, and it's gonna be a private show add task. Okay, we're gonna call it show add task, and that's going to be a boolean. So that's going to be a variable that we're going to use to toggle, the show and hide of the task form basically, and also we're going to use it for other things like changing the text and the color and all that. But it's all conditional of the form being hidden or shown. So that's why we're going to call it show add task. It could just actually be called show add form actually if you really want it, because you're not really hiding any of these tasks, showing or hiding any of these tags. It's more like you're showing, hiding the form. So that could work. We'll call it that. You can call it whatever you want. We're going to initialize it just because it's a good idea to initialize it, and we're going to initialize it to false. Okay. And then the next thing is we're going to bring in, make a subject. And the subject is going to equal to a new subject of type any. Okay. All right. I'm sorry, I'm just battling a stomach bug and it's killing me. But hopefully I don't have to disappear from the screen and go, you know. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Thanks for asking. All right. So constructor, there's nothing to do there. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a function. Let's call it toggle add task. Toggle add task, sure. And that toggle add task is not going to return anything, so it's just going to be a void. And then, but inside, we're going to grab this show add task right there, and we're going to basically invert it, make it the opposite of this show add task, the opposite of itself. And then when it does that, then you want this subject to target the next state of this show add task. What in the world was that? Can I get show add task? Okay, let's get rid of this up here that just added. We don't need that. Alright, so we got that far. And then now we're going to basically make sure that we have an on toggle or some kind of function, we could call it on toggle, to make sure that we can switch the observable, but toggle the observable as the subject as an observable. So because it's going to be an observable of type any, because there is no type casting basically for this. We don't have the task object here, so there's no, can't typecast it to anything, so it could be anything you want. And then for that, we're going to return this subject as observable. Basically, we're just now toggling this so you can always watch for the next one, and then makes it negative, and then makes it positive, and then makes it negative like that. Alright, so that's basically all that there is in there. And then so now we're going to go ahead and start moving some of the stuff here. So so let's go to the components where we have this page title, because that's what that button is. Actually, it's in the page title, and we want this page title button right here, that when we click on it, that it toggles the form. So the action has to be done in the toggle, right, in the toggle button. So we're gonna go to that page title right there, and we're going to, let me see, in the page title component, what are we looking at here? The page title component has a button that emits an on-click event. The on-click then is emitted to a button click. Okay, so it's not there, and I think that button click then is being called. That button click is being called right here. The button click is being called right here at this home click. Okay, and then that's the one that basically is firing the action right now, which if we look at it, it's basically gonna say what home button was clicked. Let me clear all that mess out. That was from our last are we running? We're not running. What the heck happened? Alright, let's wait for that to finish and see what happened there. That was weird. Maybe I actually forgot to restart it. Alright, so nothing's gonna happen until that finishes, so let's give it a second. Did I forget to... No, the CLI should have done that. Okay, good. It's running. So let's go ahead and change that. Cool, good. All right. So now if I click on this, I get home button was clicked. Okay, so I'm right. So this is where that is. Now this home click, I don't like this name, so I'm just gonna actually call this toggle because that's what that button is gonna do. Toggle. So I'm gonna change that name to toggle. So this is actually gonna call toggle. All right, so now right here, this title right here is for this, and this button text is for that. So we have a couple, we already have a property here for the name. I want to change the color of the button as well. So I'm going to travel back in time a little bit, and I'm actually gonna go to the page title here, and I'm gonna create a new property now called color, because I'm gonna use that as well. So I'm gonna create that property called color, and I'm gonna go to the guy here, right? That puts out the button, and I'm gonna call it color. So now what I want to do there, no, that's not right. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to make the class conditional, and I am going to make that the color, and then this one is going to be inside there, and then that's going to be like that. All right, so what I'm doing here basically is I'm making this class conditional now, and this is going to be a string, which is, it means that it's always going to have that button as, you know, this, it's a constant. It's going to be, it's never going to change. But this color is a property that I just added right here, that I just added right there, and that's going to change because that's what is going to be caught over where I'm using the page title, wherever I'm using the page title. So yep, so that's right. So I'm gonna go ahead and save that, and now that that is available to me, let's make sure that it is. I can I can close this, the page title component. Yep, I can close the page title component. I can close the page title component HTML, sure. Now I can come over here to the home component, and I can actually call her there. So you can see now how the class went away, but that's okay. If you look at it, you should still have the BTN class at least. So you see you have BTN undefined, some run-on there. Actually, there is a space I needed to add. I just saw that undefined and BTN being together in one word. That tells me that there needs to be a space in there. All right, so add that space to the page title component. That was, you know, it's kind of hard to notice, but there is a space there, okay? And then you can go ahead and close it. Okay, now I like that better. Now it actually does have a button class and then some undefined class because it hasn't been used. It hasn't been used. And there are ways that you can set up for undefined, you know, just have a defaulted class or something like that. But for right now, we're gonna go ahead and set up our color here, our variable that is gonna actually call it color conditionally. So it's going to be returned as a string always, but then inside the string we're going to have some interpolation in here because we're going to be using a JavaScript expression, right? And we were using the show add task in order to do that, right? So we want to make sure that whenever we call the show add task that we're able to toggle between the colors and all that. But before we get that far, we have to make sure first that we can actually that we actually have access to that show add task in the home component TypeScript first. So we got to do a couple of things to set that up first. So the first thing that we need to do, obviously, so that it knows that such thing exists, is bring in the add form service. So now that the add form service is being imported, then we can actually use it. But one more thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the subscription from our FJS so we can subscribe to the observable, like observable. I can never say that. All right, so now that we have that, we're gonna bring in here the show at task, which I had a copy. Yep, we're gonna bring in the show at task, which is gonna be a boolean, and we're not gonna set it up to false or anything. We already have it set up to false before, and we're going to bring a subscription. We're gonna make a subscription subscription, which is going to be subscription. There you go. Cool. And now is when we're gonna work in the constructor a little bit. Do I want to do that yet? No, I don't want to do that yet, but what I do want to do, yes, actually I do. I have to do that. I have to first bring in the, so it's gonna be private. I have to make, oh my God, there. I'm gonna have to make sure that I use the add form service. Yeah, oops, that's not right. Private add form service, add form service. There you go. Add form service equals to add form service. Wow, that took a while. Okay, so now that I have that, then I can come to this toggle action, which is what I'm calling from here, right? So they can actually work. I can come to this toggle action here, and then I can say this add form service, and then I'm going to call the toggle add task, which is the one that I had set up in my service that is going to make sure that it toggles right here. This toggle add task right here, that is going to make sure that it does this and go to the next object. Okay. All right. So now that I have this, I'm gonna save that, and then I'm gonna come back over here, save that for now, just so I can have it there. But before I go away, I want to make sure that I actually use that show at task now. So I'm going to get the show at task again and copy it, and I'm gonna have my expression for the color. So I want to say that if my show at task is true, do this, otherwise do that. And if it's true, it's gonna have a BTN primary class, and if it's false, it's gonna have a BTN secondary class. All right, hit save, and let's wait for it, and it should pop up. Some kind of class should pop up here. Yeah, good. So we're good to go. We have the class. To make sure that that's right, that that's working, if I initialize this, or override this rather, to true, it should switch over to the green, because it's initially false. So I'm making it true now so I can see it switch, and there we go. Alright, so make sure you take that off because you don't want to override it. You don't want to manually set it up. And now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually bring the same thing here to the text, and we want to change the text so that when it is primary, when it's closed, and when it's not, then it's going to be add. And if this gets confusing right here, which one is closed, which one is add, it doesn't matter, because once it runs, you'll be able to tell. It's not going to stop it from running. If I had add here and close here, it's still going to run. It'll just look weird, and then you'll know, okay, I just have to swap these two, and it'll be fine. So don't worry about that. Sometimes I even have a hard time figuring out which one is which, and it's no big deal. All right, so that is done. Yeah. So now the one thing that we have to do is we have to now actually hide. So we are able to switch the button, that works, but we now actually have to hide. So you see, if I, oh no, wait, we're not, because we haven't actually done the service. Okay, so now in order to do that, we have to actually run the service. So we're gonna do this this subscription, we're gonna run a subscription to the observable, and that subscription is gonna equal to, and this again, this name right here is what I picked here. It could be anything you want. So this subscription is gonna equal to the add form service, because we're calling the service where we set this observable, and then we're going to then call the untoggle this one, right? So that the observable can be watched as observable, and then what is it, untoggle, and then we're gonna run the untoggle like that, and is that right? Yeah, and then and then we're gonna obviously subscribe to it, and that's going to be generating a value which we are going to tell it to this show task equals to that value, and close it. And what happened? Oh, because that's supposed to be there. There you go. So just so you can see it better, this is supposed to actually be a little bit more like this, so you can see it better. All right, so now it's done. Now it's going to actually trigger the observable, and the observable basically is going to watch for the state of this show task, and then make sure that it reads whatever value is there and set it up to the opposite. So if I click on it, you can see how it's already switching from one to the other. So it's toggling the button, but it's not hiding the form and toggling the form. So all we have to do now is basically do the exact same thing here in the add task where the form is, so that way you can use it over there. So we're gonna go ahead and bring that stuff right there to here, and this stuff right here, I'm gonna bring that as well. Just put it right on top of that, it's fine. The the service, since the constructor is empty, I'm actually going to bring the entire constructor. Yep, sounds good right there. And I believe that's it. Yep, there is nothing to assign to the toggle like we did on this one where we assigned it to the toggle, because there is no the toggle is actually being done here. So there's nothing to, there's no other toggling there. There's only one toggle trigger. So we're gonna hit save so it's available, but we're gonna go to the HTML of it, and then now here we're going to basically put a condition where it's gonna be ng if equals to show add task. We're basically saying if the show add task is true, show it. If it's false, whatever, you know. And go ahead and hit save, and there will probably be some changes now on the screen. I don't know, I think it's gonna hide it automatically. Yep, it did. So if I click add, it'll show it. If I click close, it'll hide it. Now we're almost done. Look what's happening here. I don't like this. I want this actually now to show in full. I know that's kind of ugly, but I want it to show full, and then when you add it, I want it to split into two, and then when you hide it, I want that to take over the space, so it's not like this. Okay, so how we're going to do this is if we go to the tasks, and I think that's page title. No, that's not what it was. Where was that? It wasn't in the add task. It wasn't in that. It wasn't in task item. Page title, task. Okay, no. Add task. Where's the add task being sent? Oh, was it in the home page? No, it wasn't in the home page. Add task. Add task. Here's the form, so that's fine. And then it wasn't in the tag. It was in tasks. Oh yeah, it was in tasks. In tasks component. So now in the tasks component, let's start off by working with the TS component, and we're basically just gonna bring up exactly the same thing that we did. We're just gonna bring this imports to here. Yeah, that's fine there. And we're gonna bring these initiations, initializing, whatever. I'm gonna put them on the bottom of it. Actually, we already have a constructor, so we can just bring the entire constructor. But yeah, actually, I'm gonna bring the entire constructor. I'm gonna bring the entire constructor, and then I am just going to move this one to here, delete that constructor, and then put a comma at the end of this one. That way everything is still there. Alright, the end unit is fine, the on delete is fine, there's no other toggling to do here. Alright, so that part is all copacetic, but we have to work on the actual HTML of it. So what we're going to do in the HTML of it is we're going to, just like we did the toggling for the button, just like we did this one, we're just gonna grab this entire thing in there, and we're gonna go back to the here, and then now we are going to tell it on this class. Let's see, let's close the service. This is getting messy. Let's close this TS right here. Let's call all the TS components. We're done with all of them. Let's close that one here. And okay, so there is that. Okay, cool. So here what we're going to do is we're going to save that, and then we're going to show add task column large 6. Yes, so if it's true, it's going to be a column large 6, but if it's not true, if it's not there, then we're going to make it big, column large 12. Yep. And then we're going to make sure that we bring this guy down here, but we're gonna, don't forget the tasks, this class. So we're gonna put that there, and then make sure that that tasks is always there. That task should be there when it's, just bring it, because we have that task class being updated on the styles CSS. So go back to a few classes, a few lessons back, if you, with the one about responsive design, to see what I did with that task if you didn't see it. That way this will make a little bit more sense. So I'll go ahead and save this, give it a second, and then now this should work. Alright, so it's full, but if I add it, it splits it, and if I close it, it's full, and it doesn't affect this. It's still going to be what it is, and if I close it, it shows it, and if I hide it, it hides it. So nothing changes. Alright, so that's all I got for this lesson, and there's a little bit more to do. We have to do routing, and we have to do still the edit of the actual task, where we have to edit the text and the date. So we're gonna do that after the routing, because we're gonna do it a little bit different. Alright guys, well, I'll see you in the next one.